Today's topics, we're going to dive in gently, getting back into the swing of things, and we're going to talk about the Horizon Forbidden West, which is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. We're going to talk about that gameplay reveal from the State of Play that Sony put out. Very, very impressive. And then there was some also additional information we learned from some interviews with the directors afterwards. Let's get into Horizon Forbidden West. So Sony, like I said earlier, they had the State of Play, 19 minutes long. Most of it was like 14 or 15 minutes of it was gameplay footage running on an actual PS5 of this sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. That reveal currently has around 6 million views on YouTube, and this is the most heavily shared and viewed State of Play from Sony since they began doing these State of Plays, and it's just been lighting the internet on fire. Everyone is like very, very excited about this. For the most part, I don't think I've seen anyone that said, "Oh, that sucked." I don't think I've seen
Right.
that opinion at all anywhere, you
I
know.
think
So
yeah, I think they did the same thing for Ratchet and Clank. Like they had a state of play that was basically all dedicated to a single game. And I think that's the way they should really do it moving forward because you focus on one game and you can share a lot more details about it. It's just more meaningful than their previous state of plays, which was just like 10 to 15 trailers, right? Like all back to back to back to back.
yeah,
And then when it's
yeah,
over, everybody just looks up on YouTube the few trailers they actually cared about anyway,
hmm,
right? So when you're sitting through it live and there's only 2 or 3 games you are hoping to see, and you get to see maybe one of those and it's like 2 minutes, but
hmm,
you sat through all these other games you didn't care about or are not really interested in,
yeah.
then it's like you get kind of like that, like that disappointed, like, I wanted more of the thing I wanted to see, and the rest was kind of a waste of my time, so now this is a much better approach, I think.
I think you're right. Having a focused reveal that kind of lets people know exactly what's going to be there. I mean, people that want to watch it can watch it. And if it's really good, it's going to get a lot of hype. People are going to go back and watch it and share it and stuff like that. But when you have these epically long presentations with so much stuff, it's fatiguing to watch. And it's like in the middle of the day. So I'm trying to watch it while I'm at work. And I'm like, dude, this has been 50 minutes long, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, and then, like, afterwards anyway, people just look up the if they weren't there live, they just look up the trailers that they cared about that or that people tweet about,
Hmm.
and so it's just better this way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So this particular gameplay reveal for Horizon Forbidden West, a lot of people were looking forward to it because, the State of Play that announced the PS5 showed off the console. This was one of the big announcements when they showed that initial trailer for Forbidden West. And so now we're actually seeing real gameplay on a PS5 for this game, which is a big deal. We had Final Fantasy 16, which was announced for the PS5, but that was PC footage. Cyberpunk, for the longest time, they were showing PC footage. I mean, this is legit PS5 footage. So people are really, really excited about that. Before we continue in on this like reveal discussion, let's quickly touch base on kind of what our thoughts were of the original. And I think that's going to set a foundation for kind of how we viewed this reveal. What did you think about the game? What stood out to you? Did you like it? That type of thing.
Yeah, I thought it is a very good polished version of the modern open world formula, I guess you could say, but it has a unique setting, unique characters that are living within that setting.
Hmm.
So it's interesting because from a gameplay standpoint, it has a lot of the things you've seen before. It just did a lot of those things really, really well. Like it has towers, for example, right? It's got the open world towers where you climb up to the top of the tall object, you activate it, and then that opens up kind of all the missions or the collectibles or secrets like in the area on your map. So you can go clear that section of the map. It's a kind of the Ubisoft formula, right? With Assassin's Creed.
Sure.
It has that, they have their own version of that in Horizon Zero Dawn, and you notice it right away, but it's not. It doesn't feel like they ripped it off, I guess is the nice way to put it. Like it's
It's
there.
refreshing.
Yeah, it's there. You recognize it, but it performs well at like what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
basically, like it's a that's my general impression is overall like very polished
Hmm.
version of the modern open world formula.
Yeah.
And the story has kind of a mystery element with it, and that is kind of what is the driving force but behind like exploring this world and trying to find out how did this happen, like how did these machines appear and end up in this world, and how did mankind end up in this state that we're in, you know?
Personally, those types of narratives I find just fascinating. Not
Mhm.
everyone is into the science fiction, right? So not high fantasy, but the like actual science-based fiction that we have in Horizon Zero Dawn. But I eat that stuff up and ask for seconds. So having a game based in this world and having them really explore that lore of how this game came to be or how this world came to be with these crazy mech dinosaurs and just the fact that we're in like this post-apocalyptic world that's 1,000 years after the fall of civilization. I was just eating it up and like asking for seconds. And so I really, really enjoyed that story a lot. So I'm super pumped about this sequel. But that game, when I first picked it up, I beat it in like 4 days. Dude, I loved it. Like
Wow.
I,
That
I,
is a
I was on vacation, I think, and I
mm,
just went straight through it. And dude, everything in that game is just so well done. The combat is so exhilarating. Even ordinary battles are just really like engaging. It has like an organic feel to it that doesn't feel scripted to
yeah,
the point where like some of these ordinary battles that I would just come across running around in the woods, it would feel more engaging than a boss battle in another game.
because it was like spontaneous, and you may not have had like the optimal tools right at the time, like to
Yeah.
deal with the threat, and so you're just kind of trying to
Yeah.
get by with what you have in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it was so the combat in that game, I think, was so well designed for an open world game that like it was very multifaceted that you could use multiple different ways to take down enemies, but it was all like very satisfying. I don't know how they would do it, but it would occur so many times where I would be on like death's doorstep. One more hit and I'm dead.
Yeah.
And this giant thing's chasing me through the hills. And I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do? And like it would it'd be like in the air, like over me, about to do like the kill shot. And I would just Hail Mary like one last arrow. And it would just like descend into flames. And like I would just be sitting there panting. How did I get through this? This was just crazy. It was so good. And like I already said, the story was awesome. The side quests were fantastic as well. Some of these side quests I was surprised were not part of the main story. They were, side missions that were optional. So
Mhm.
a very, very well-rounded, great game. So definitely, definitely coming into this with a lot of excitement.
Yeah, the story and like the side quests, like the writing, it's not quite Witcher 3 level,
No.
but it's still using that model, I felt, you
Hmm.
know, for kind of presenting the story and having the side quests like tie into the
Hmm.
main narrative and stuff. So yeah, that was really well done.
But anyways, enough on that. We clearly both enjoyed the game. We thought it was a great game. Despite some of its flaws, it was well reviewed. And
Mhm.
so now we have this Forbidden West sequel gameplay reveal. So in this particular game, and we saw them focusing on the West or San Francisco, and she's going after this red fungus or blight that's infecting the land, trying to find the origin of it. So this has led her to San Francisco, where there might be some kind of clarification on what's going on here. I don't want to get too much into that because if you played the original game, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. But from what we did see here, we saw numerous new gameplay elements. So it seems like they've basically expanded on what was in the original game. So the same combat system is there, but they've expanded on it, and they've added some new tools that you can use during combat or just traveling in general. So Aloy now has a very Breath of the Wild esque holographic hang glider that
Mm.
she can use she can summon and she can jump off high edges and kind of float down to safety. And also, the developers confirmed she has the ability now to kind of address to your point, the ability to free climb anywhere. So it was a little confusing in the reveal because it kind of showed similar things to where she would use like her little electronic headset device thing to kind of show where she could climb. And so people thought, oh, there was only certain areas you could climb. But the developer confirmed that no, that's only in low light situations does it show those little yellow points because it might not be obvious. And you're like in the middle of combat, right? You need to know where you can climb and stuff.
Yeah.
But they confirmed they put an algorithm in the trailer or in the game engine itself that will just automatically detect ridges. And so they're like, no, you can free climb on anything.
Yeah, I'm just kind of speculating here, but I know that Death Stranding used the engine for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep.
They kind of the Guerrilla Games, right? They gave Kojima access to their
Hmm.
code for that engine, and then he made a game, Death Stranding, that um, like terrain is like very important, and the game is like running simulations on the very minute details about like the slopes, right, and like the edges of the terrain. So I wonder if they used that data or kind of looked at what they did with their own engine, right, and then we're able to incorporate some of that into the environment in this Horizon sequel to make that free climbing more available. Like I wonder if they collaborated on that in some way, trying to
That's
kind of build
that's
off of what he did. Yeah.
that's interesting. I never considered maybe there was some kind of collaboration there. I did see where they did mention that they saw some of the criticism of just things feeling a little restricted in the original in the sense that, you could only go around a mountain, you couldn't climb it really.
Yeah.
And so they definitely wanted to address that. But initially, what they had planned for Forbidden West was they were just going to have, they were going to program certain spots all over the entire map that you could climb. And it was going to be more open, but they were like hand selecting ridges
Mm.
and like making this an area you could climb. And then they're doing this, and they're like, man, this is taking forever. And so they came up with this algorithm that will automatically detect those ridges. But I don't know if that's a good point. That might have been perhaps based on some exploration or experimentation in Death Stranding, or maybe Death Stranding kind of got that from that, or maybe they're just both came to
Mm.
a similar conclusion. But they're
Yeah,
like,
it's just interesting that like Death Stranding was so focused on kind of that terrain
mhm.
aspect, and then Forbidden West is also. Though you're right, that may just do be due to the criticism of the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, regardless, they've kind of
it's
hit that, and now they're like, yeah, you can climb anywhere, and so it's a lot more exploration, and like you can see in the trailer that really opened up the combat because Aloy's climbing up walls, she's climbing up tree branches, the enemies are climbing up branches and climbing along walls, and they're like encircling her in the beginning of the trailer, and it just adds a lot of dynamics to the battle that weren't there in the original because everything was a little bit more, barked off because of her inability to climb stuff more than
yeah,
like a few feet, right?
yeah,
But anyway, so that people are really excited about that. I'm really excited about that. She also has this ability to use this like grappling hook they showed in the trailer. It's kind of like I forget what you call it, but it's the thing from Monster Hunter Rise where you're able to like kind of shoot the rope out and it like grabs onto stuff and you're able to
yeah,
swing across things. And it kind of shows her using that in a similar perspective in a battle. She goes and jumps off this brick wall that's about to collapse and she starts swinging from different stuff to get away from this enemy. And so that's a new tool that wasn't in the original. And so that's really cool. They also showed Aloy diving underwater in this trailer or gameplay reveal, which wasn't in the original, which a lot of people have pointed out were really excited. And then also the skill tree, they talked about how that's been fully kind of overhauled. So now you are actually rewarded based upon what you do in combat. So you'll get specific points based upon what you do. So if you use the arrow a lot, you'll get points towards upgrading your arrow. But, if you're not defending or you're not using certain types of tools, you're not going to get points to upgrade that. So you can kind of customize your your character there.
yeah. That's good. It kind of reminds me of if you think of like old school Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
right?
Or
Like tried to kind of do the same thing. They wanted to create a system where it's like, well, if you use the swords a lot, you're going to level up your swords, or if you use the axe, you're going to level up your axe. If you The way to level up your HP is if you take hits, you know. Now
yeah.
that was abused, of course, that was it was notoriously abused, but the idea is kind of the same thing that the developers have here. They want to reward players for the actions they perform in the game by making those actions like by making the character more skilled at those things that you do regularly. Yeah.
What's funny is that Final Fantasy II system influenced the Elder Scrolls series because,
Hmm.
in that series you do similar things, right? You upgrade based upon what you use. And so, this became the time honored tradition, which I first learned in Morrowind was I will jump everywhere because, because jumping improves your I can't remember. There's a specific stat. I think it's like your agility or your evasion or something like that. But so you would just jump every single place because you would constantly just level up.
Jumping
Right.
throughout the town. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. But yeah, so they've kind of adopted that. Whereas in the original game, it was basically like when you leveled up, you would, I don't even, it wasn't, I guess technically it was functioning like a level up. You would be able to spend certain skill points and you could kind of improve whatever you wanted. And so
Hmm.
this is a little bit more focused. And so that's pretty cool too. It gives you some reward for experimenting, right, in a different play style. So that's pretty cool. I really like that. But
I like that. Yeah. That's good.
like overall though, I mean, people are really impressed with this reveal. I mean, what did you think about what you saw? What did you
Overall, it
like?
looks like yeah, kind of like how we mentioned earlier, they're addressing what I thought were kind of the weaknesses of the first game, particularly with the free climbing and like just expanding the sense of exploration rather than like not just it's not just far and wide, right? But now it's like high and low, right? You can climb up and you can also go underwater and kind of dive. Now, in the original, you technically could go underwater, but you were just hiding under the surface of the water.
Hmm.
Like you could use that to sneak past enemies by like hiding in the water.
Yeah.
But this is more like you can fully dive and scuba diving practically down there,
Yeah, and
you know.
there's enemies in there. There's like fish. There's like a whole nother world underwater.
Yeah, and it looks amazing in the engine that they've built. Like, and
Well,
they have like really amazing water physics. Like you can see the kelp like moving down there in the current and everything. It's like really
and yeah, and
really
speaking
great.
of the physics though, think about when in the moment in the reveal trailer where she dives down in there, it's just seamless and the physics to the entire game dramatically changes when you dive underwater like that, and it's not like in like Witcher 3 when you go underwater, it's just like you're clearly underwater and there's like a sea floor,
Yeah.
and like that's kind of like it. You might have some like beast or whatever swimming under there, but that's about it. I mean, this was like just as detailed as walking around in the forest when she was underwater. It was a sight to behold.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I honestly, dude, because I so much like the original, I had a lot of anxiety about Forbidden West because you get that with any sequel to any game. Like, is it going to be good? Are they going to mess it up? Because that happens all the time. They
Hmm.
they just jack it up. Look at what Mass Effect 3 did. Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, they jacked up something that was excellent. And so I was kind of nervous about this. I liked the reveal trailer that we saw last year, which was just a traditional trailer. It seemed like it was gameplay, but you weren't quite sure. Some of it could have been artificially done. And so I liked what I saw, but I wasn't really sure what it was going to be, especially when we saw it was going to be on the PS4 as well. But we saw this 14-minute trailer and it was literally running on a PS5,
Hmm.
right?
I think yes. I think that they do have some tricks. Like I do. It is in real time and somebody's playing it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
they do have tricks like they record it a bunch of times. And so you're
Well,
getting like
yeah.
from a presentation standpoint, you're
So
getting
eh,
like the best
everything
run that somebody did of the demo or whatever, you know? Yeah.
everything we saw in that trailer was possible. But yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about the whole time too. I was like, this is well scripted. I wonder how many times they recorded this
yeah,
for it to flow like this. But I guess what I'm getting at is when you look at, a lot of games will be announced and it's a purely cinematics. They've reanimated what they hope the game will be like. And
yeah,
it's really, really cool. But then the game comes out and it's not like that at all.
yeah, like, I think the original, Watch Dogs game was, like, the most infamous example of that. They
Yeah.
showed off, like, this amazing gameplay reveal, and then when the game came out years later, it was, like, heavily downgraded from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like you never know. Like you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But
Mhm,
I literally saw it. I saw
yeah,
it being played on a PS5. I know that like this will be possible. I might not be as good as the person playing the game now that
mhm,
recorded that, so I might suck. I'm not going to dodge every attack. I'm probably going to get hit.
yeah,
And things like that. It was just really, really exciting. I was really, really happy with what I saw. And on to your point, it looks like Guerrilla Games literally addressed everything that people disliked in the
mhm,
original, but then they kept all the stuff that people liked and
yeah.
just kind of like expanded on it.
Yeah, I'm sure with the free climbing and especially like the holographic hang glider device that
Hmm.
allows her to drift down, now people are gonna really be pointing at Breath of the Wild, right? And just saying that like they copied it or whatever. But it's like, well, those are good ideas, right? Like you enjoy those, right? So
Yeah.
don't
Dude,
you want
it's
more games to incorporate that? Yeah.
it's it's crazy how like Nintendo pretty much like copyrighted like a hang glider. You know?
Yeah.
Anytime you say you're like, oh, Breath of the Wild, it's just like, well, what are they supposed to do? And it's like, and I don't even think Breath of the Wild was the first game to do that. I mean, there were other games that had similar systems, but
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild really before it was kind of like a kind of a kind of a side thing, whereas Breath of the Wild really incorporated it into like the main gameplay in this fashion. So, but yeah, those comparisons are definitely coming. I find it hilarious too that the original game came out around the same time as Breath of the Wild, and now this game is most likely coming out around the same time as
As the
Breath of the
second
Wild
one.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just like it's just inevitable, you know?
they'll forever be they'll forever be linked together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's hilarious. But I mean, dude, one of the criticisms I saw people bringing up in the original that I definitely saw they addressed in the reveal was, and I do agree with this, that like humanoid enemies in the original, it
Mhm.
wasn't as engaging to battle as it was the machines. I mean, it was fun
Yes.
to do stealth kills and stuff, but
Yes,
like,
the stealth, yeah.
yeah, but like one-on-one combat was generally not as engaging unless it was like a boss battle. Some of them were a little bit better, but like random people that you would encounter along your travels, nowhere near as engaging as the machines. The machines was the bread and butter. And fortunately, that was 90% of the fights that you'd have in that game. But the humanoid enemies were not as good. And in this reveal that they showed here, I think they clearly showed us like 3 minutes of like battling people just to show like, hey, we've worked this up. There's like a segment with her facing down like a guard, like she goes in for a stealth kill and then like kills him real quick. And then it kind of has the same flow as when you attack a machine, because around the corner, like this giant guy comes out, right? And it kind of has the same flow as when you attack a machine. You would attack a machine and then another one comes around the corner to start to assist. And so it has a similar flow. And while she's combating this guy with this giant hammer that's been optimized with like electricity. It's crazy. He's got stamina clearly. Like when he throws the hammer down, he kind of is stuck a little bit, but he's
Mhm.
also able to grab Aloy, pick her up, and throw her around kind of like a machine would, in the
Mhm.
original, which is a lot different than simply kind of staring at her and trying to take some swipes like the original
Yeah,
would have, you
yeah.
know. So it's a lot more engaging in that way. And dude, that final kill shot where she jumps onto his chest and then launches off into the air and then she pulls the arrow back and shoots into him. I'm
In slow
like,
motion, yeah.
dude, that was so badass. I was just like, that was so cool. And
Yeah.
so I think they've really took a lot of the criticism the original had, which was not, it was really well reviewed. I mean, got several tens, but they took any of the criticism they got and they just freaking addressed it, man. And I just love the fact that they just kept the combat to be so engaging, but then they just expanded on it. They didn't think, oh, this is a new game. We need to do something different. We need to dramatically rethink this game and make it like a freaking, I don't know, VAT system or something, or, we need to completely do it something new. People aren't going to like it unless it's new. They're just like, no, people liked it before. It was really good. Let's just make it better.
Yeah,
And thank you. I want more people to do that.
yeah. They definitely did a good job, like you said, of expanding on what was already there. You get a lot of sequels that are kind of like incrementally better. Like Assassin's Creed franchise comes to mind, where it's very, very similar, you know,
Right.
going from game to game, but it changes slowly. This looks like a pretty significant leap, like both in terms of graphics and gameplay. Like I think after you play this game, based on all the things they've shown, going back to play the first one might feel a little lacking or awkward if you are like accustomed to what they're adding here in the second game.
Yeah, I saw somebody, it was a journalist that was talking about their thoughts with this reveal, and I wish I could remember their name and give them credit. It was really well said. He basically said that, after watching this, I kind of feel like wait a minute, I feel like that should have always been in there.
Yeah,
It never felt lacking before, but now that I see it and play, it's just like I can't imagine the game not having that, you know,
yeah,
with the
yeah.
ability to free climb and glide down and, you know, um, destructible environments, things like that. So, but what did you think about that fight with that like giant elephant mech? That was like the big boss battle of the reveal.
Yeah. Yeah. That was yeah, that was pretty cool. And the humans were like riding on it, which is
Mhm.
I guess is like a plot point. These raiders, or I can't remember what they're called, rate the this tribe or whatever that she's
Right.
fighting. They have the ability to uh take over the machines as well, to tame them like she can. Like when you do in the game, you tame them and they fight for you, or they become your mount,
Right. Which
so
is
you
a
can ride
change.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the first game, that wasn't a thing. There was no other humans that could do that. There was like a corruption going around, like corrupting the machines and making them more aggressive and attacking the humans, but there was no other humans themselves that could tame them like that. And
Right.
so she's kind of concerned about this, and then they incorporated that like right into the gameplay because you're fighting this giant
And
elephant monster with the humans that tamed it, like riding on top of it and like shooting at you and
and think
stuff.
about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. I didn't think of, instead of reinventing the game from the ground up, which clearly they expanded upon what was already there. They said, okay, her power in the original game was that she could control these machines, right? And nobody
Mhm.
else could. So they're like, okay, well, the only thing we're going to change is now the enemies can do that too,
Yeah.
you know? And
I
it's
would.
just, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
and
they expanded on it, but that makes perfect sense. You didn't need to reinvent the wheel. You just
yeah.
added a whole new dynamic that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it also adds a kind of another mystery element to the story. You're Aloy wants to find out, how did they come to be able to do this? Like, did they discover it in the same way that I did, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that elephant fight though, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that
it
was
was
I was
intense.
yeah, I was getting stressed out watching it. It was incredible. I mean, you see her using, at one point she has this kind of like fire shot, right? She shoots into the deck or whatever that's built on top of the creature, and after that she puts down this putty that slows the elephant down. It's like nipping at her heels, and that slows her down or slows the elephant down, and then she hides behind this wall and she's shooting arrows at it, and this thing just comes through and just wrecks the wall, and she right, and so she starts climbing up this other wall that's around nearby to escape, and this thing just rams through that wall, and she's in the air and she starts grappling through the air, almost like Spider-Man, you know, and
Yeah.
leaping on the stuff. I'm like, dude, this is tremendous. I mean, at one point she picks up a cannon that she shot off the elephant and she turns back and starts shooting it back at the elephant. Like, dude, it was freaking crazy. I was just like, this looks so good. Even the detail after it was defeated, you see individual pieces of wood just falling off. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just like, dude, this is incredible. This is,
Yeah.
as a fan, I'm sitting here watching this reveal, and I'm just every like 30 to 40 seconds, I'm just like, "Oh, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted too." You know,
Yeah.
it's
They're
just
giving
like,
you things you didn't know you wanted until now. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, this is great. Like this looks everything that I wanted for this game, and so dude, and they brought back. I mean, we have at the beginning of the trailer, we have Aaron who was in the original game. So the director said, "Hey, we're bringing back people that were in the original game. You're going to see familiar faces," which I thought was cool as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that like I wasn't particularly attached to Aaron, but he wasn't a bad character either. But I
Mhm.
was just glad, like, okay, I'm going to be seeing some familiar people. You know, the original game, there was a little bit of uncertainty with what was going on elsewhere. So I'm glad that to learn that all of my friends are not dead. You know, like
Yeah.
they're still alive and kicking. So it
Yeah. And
looks
I felt bad for him during that, because she's trying to rescue him, but like during that elephant battle, he's like tied up to like a post,
right.
right? Like, and that's like stuck in the sand. So like all this is like going around, like happening, and he's like, could you imagine just being like stuck there and like trying to avoid like all this debris and everything?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, he's a fun character. I mean, in in the trailer, I keep saying trailer, but you guys know what I mean. In the video, he's when he first sees Aloy, he's like, "Aloy?" And I'm like, "Dude, like she's clearly trying to like sneak in here."
Yeah.
Like in a moron. You know, this is probably why you got caught. So, anyways, dude, this was above and beyond everything I expected for this game. I like all of my doubts or anxiety for the sequel for this game were like immediately demolished. I think like this looks like this is going to be fantastic. I mean, we saw gameplay on the PS5. I just, I'm pounding the gavel. This is going to be as good as the original, if not
Oh, I
better.
think so. Yeah, everything is improved, like from what they've shown. I mean,
Even the
it's
facial animations, right? It looks a little
yeah,
bit more engaging.
yeah, yeah. I'd like to see, I guess, what the game looks like, maybe, and not so much of a scripted like sequence, like coming
Yeah.
up upon NPCs in the wilderness who have a random side quest for you to do. Does it still have that kind of awkward like headshot presentation, or is it like a little more dynamic? Maybe at the very least like a kind of like a third person camera that's like kind of rotating above the two characters or something,
Yeah.
something like that, which they already started improving on that in the Frozen Wild expansion, like I mentioned. So I think that will be addressed as well.
Yeah, I bet you it will be. And I mean, we saw some interaction in this that was a little bit more scripted, like you pointed out, and it was a little bit more engaging. I
I
doubt,
think so.
I doubt all the side quests will be that detailed, but um, who knows, man? Because I did not expect this. I,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but I did not expect this, and this was just fantastic. I thought it was fantastic. Um, there was a little bit of controversy though with this reveal.
Controversy
This was
in quotes.
this was popping up all over the internet, and it's this idea that Aloy got fat, and I can't find the actual people that were like covering this. I could only find people talking about
The drama,
the
right?
drama that people were pointing this out, and I wonder if it was like two people, or if it was just a popular meme. But basically, people were well, I saw screenshots, so some people were talking about this, but they were showing comparison screenshots to Aloy's face from the original game and from this reveal trailer, and usually it was like at a bad camera angle, but
Yeah.
in the new trailer or new sequel, Aloy's face looks like it gained weight
Mhm.
compared to like her very skinny face before, and they're like, oh, she's like she's fat, like they made her fat, and like there's all these memes with like showing Aloy's face while with like a McDonald's hat on. Like she's like serving McDonald's and stuff like that. And it's, gotten a lot of just buzz and discussion on the internet with, why would they make her fatter, or, why would they make her gain weight? Some people are like, well, she didn't actually gain weight. Those are bad camera angles. Other people are like, well, no, I mean, maybe there's a lore reason, uh, and it's just, it's a little silly. And there's also been people that are like, well, now she's not feminine. The whole point of her being fatter was to make her less feminine. And, there's people showing pictures of Aloy with makeup on, like they put makeup on her face to make her more feminine. And they're like, this looks better. And then, people are like, well, I mean, clearly, she's a huntress. She's not wearing makeup.
Yeah,
And
there's
like,
no makeup in this world.
well, there might be, but
At least not that kind, yeah.
yeah. So anyways, what do you think about this whole shenanigan?
I g most of it went past me. I somehow missed it when trailer when the state of play first dropped. I kind of just I guess maybe it's because I just kind of walked away with my own impressions. I didn't engage all that much in what people were talking about it.
Right.
So I only became aware of it recently. And to me, it's kind of a controversy, you know. I don't think it's I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think even with the camera shots that she looks all that different. I think the one that's kind of circulating is like a super close up, and it's almost like a first person view, which like makes her face look a lot wider than it actually is. You know,
Yeah, it's got
so
her like head looking down in the new one, and then the other one, it's got her. She's just like kind of back away
like
from the camera,
yeah,
looking
yeah,
at it straightwards, and I'm like, well, that's not the same at all.
yeah,
I do think that the face, despite all that, I do think the newer model does look like she gained a little bit of weight compared
hmm
to the original, but I don't think it was like intentional. And this isn't uncommon. I mean, the character models between games generally are not exactly the same. I mean, Geralt doesn't look the same. Nathan Drake doesn't look the same, right?
yeah,
They generally kind of like change things a little bit. And I
hmm
think that like I highly doubt someone was like, let's make her fat.
yeah,
Like,
intentionally, right? Yeah,
yeah. And she's not fat either. She's clearly very in shape, you know?
yes, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't put too much weight into this. I guess, ha ha ha. But
That was a good one. I liked it.
yeah, the I can imagine though that some of the people at Sony and Guerrilla Games are like not pleased that this is circulating because they must feel like we put together this awesome gameplay demonstration, but some people just want to complain no matter what. Right? You can hit a home run, you can put together the best presentation, right? But leave it to the internet to find something, something that they don't like, and then that's all they'll talk about.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
agree.
So
I agree. If, her face could have been an exact replica and they would have found something else. I mean, people were bringing
yeah.
up that she wasn't wearing makeup. She wasn't wearing makeup in the original game either.
No, no.
Like, so, like where's this coming from? And I just don't get it. And anyways, so I think we're on the same boat here. That whole thing was ridiculous, and seems like the internet's pretty much gotten on board with no, that's stupid.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah.
And we're moving on, right? So, anyways, let's move on. We got the game is coming to the PS4 also. So, in post interviews, the director of the game stated this game was made with the PS4 in mind. And then for the PS5, when they took that version, they just kind of like made everything better. And so, what he said we saw in the gameplay reveal, a lot of that stuff will not be in the PS4 version, or it'll be greatly downgraded. So, I mean, you see things like literal waves crashing on the beach, right? Waves coming in. And the PS4 version, it's not going to, like, they've kind of tried to simulate that, but it's not going to look like that. It's going to not look as good. There's quick load times. So he said there's basically no load times in the PS5 version. PS4 version, there's load times. There's going to be 60 FPS version for the PS5 version. PS4 version, it's 30 FPS. But, I'm sure we're going to see lots of foliage that's been reduced. And, with Cyberpunk in particular, Some of
Mm,
the changes they made was they lowered the crowd density in the PS4 version to where there was like 3 people walking around outside.
yeah,
Whereas, on the PC version, high end, it was like 100, right? So, I'm sure they're making many, many compromises, but it seems like what they're saying is they built the game on the PS4 first, and then for the PS5 version, they just went in and kind of made it like a lot, function a lot better. And
yeah.
so I think that was a good way to go, but we have yet to see the PS4 version. And, CD Projekt Red, they said Cyberpunk ran surprisingly well on the PS4, and
They claimed, yeah.
it did not surprisingly, it ran surprisingly bad. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, like the original game, though, this is what I can't get over. The original game is like one of the most impressive PS4 games I've played, and most people still feel that way. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, there's graphically games that look better. I would say God of War 5, but that's not an open world game. And for an open world game, it looks amazing, plays amazing, and it's generally regarded as one of the top tier PlayStation 4 games. And so this sequel looked like such a vast improvement, and not just in terms of graphics, in terms of just like the amount of crap you could do. And it was all so seamless, diving underwater, jumping off things, destructible environments, like giant creatures, like rummaging through, chasing you down, knocking over trees and stuff. And so I'm just trying to imagine what that's going to be like on the PS4. And I mean, I just wonder, do you think we're going to have another cyberpunk situation with the PS4 version, especially the base model? I mean, this is a Sony owned IP, so I would presume that they're going to be very, very strict with
Yeah.
that version, after, especially after they saw what happened with Cyberpunk. They're definitely not going to let that happen. But I mean, I can't imagine the PS4 version, the base PS4 version. I can't imagine that being anything comparable to what we saw. Because
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be scaled way back compared to what they revealed. Yeah. It's just what is scaled back and how much does that affect the experience, you know? Is it gonna feel like you're just playing the first game on a different map? Can they include all these improvements, like the free climbing. I'm sure they can include the hang glider. That doesn't seem like be too big of a deal. But like you said, they incorporated this algorithm to like detect ledges,
hmm
right? Well, does that run just as well on the like the PS4 version? Like, is it just going to be as is it going to be as many like fully climbable objects in the world?
yeah,
Can the monsters knock down the trees as they chase you? Right? Because is the PS4 able to like handle that kind of destructible environment nature, like in an open world game?
yeah.
I mean, maybe if they push it, but how much of their resources is going into pushing the PS4 version as far as the PS4 can go versus they got it playable and functional on the PS4 and then put all of their kind of polish into the PS5 version, right? Because that's what I assume they did.
hmm
That's what I assume they did
That's
because
what he's saying. Yeah.
yeah, there isn't really a huge selling point to make this game like the most beautiful PS4 game ever right now that the PlayStation 5 is out. Yeah. So,
I think that's the key difference, though. I mean, I've seen the key difference. I haven't even seen. I'm very curious to see this running on a base PS4, and I'm sure we'll see that at some point before the this game comes out. But from what I understand, they did with Cyberpunk, is CD Projekt Red made the game on a PC first,
yeah.
and then they said, "We'll we'll make it work on the PS4. We'll make it happen. We'll brute force it." And then it came down to the wire, and they were like, "This is way more difficult than we thought to make it run on a PS4." And
Mhm.
obviously the base Xbox and honestly functionally everywhere, but those original consoles had the most difficulty. So the fact that, you know, they're starting with and made the game on a PS4 and then kind of expanded outside of that, it does make me feel more confident. But I still feel after watching that gameplay reveal, that's the game I want to play. What I just saw,
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
And I think that's one of the only concerns I guess I have about the game is it's going to be a question mark in the back of everybody's mind. How much did the PS4 version like hold this game back, right? Because if they had to build it kind of on the skeleton of what the PS4 could handle,
Yeah.
how much did that like limit what they
Well,
could have even done? Maybe they could have even pushed it even further if it was PS5 exclusive and they didn't have to worry about a PS4 version.
and that's the thing, right? So in the original game, they had said that they originally planned to have flying enemies that Aloy could like capture and she could ride and stuff.
Mm,
And they couldn't get it to run well on a PS4. So they scrapped it. And now we don't know if that's going to be in this game. Maybe they got it to work, but I didn't see that in the reveal. So that might be something that's also not in this game if they can't get that to run. And probably, the size of the maps. I would presume maybe it would be much larger if it was exclusively made for the PS5. So we'll have to see. But I mean, I do like what I did see. I think this looked impressive running on a
mhm,
PS5. And I do think that the game's coming out early enough that we'll get a third Horizon game made exclusively on the PS5.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, or maybe at least a DLC that is exclusive to the PS5 version or something.
yeah. I guess it's a little presumptuous to say there'll be a sequel to this game, but presuming they have left that window open, there's enough time, anyways, in the PS5 generation to have another Horizon game come out because this is coming out right at the beginning.
True. Yeah.
So, anyways, so we'll have to see what's going on with that PS4 version. The director said this game is on track for a holiday release, but they didn't confirm that. He just said, well, it's on track for a holiday release, but they've had some obstacles to overcome, and so they're not confirming anything right now. They
Smart.
don't. Yeah, that's a
Never
good point.
confirm anything, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
smart answer.
yeah. You think this is going to be out in the holiday season?
Um,
I mean, it
I'm
seems
not
like pretty
sure.
complete from what they showed.
Yes, but um, I'm trying to think of the last like Sony exclusive game they released in the holidays, and they don't really do that. They tend to release their games in kind of the late January to May like window,
Hmm.
for like their big single player exclusive games like God of War and Last of Us and Horizon and stuff like that. I think the original came out in like a February timeframe,
I guess what people
February
are
or
pointing
March.
out though is like obviously the Christmas sales they might want to, because this is a big game.
Yeah, I just don't know if it all depends on Sony and like their finances, I think, because like it may benefit them more to just kind of coast on regular holiday sales. Like people are buying video games around that time anyway for Christmas presents and then release it like the next quarter, like of the following of the early the next year, like they tend to do
I
to
Yeah,
boost sales in a time where video game sales in general are like not as strong, so that your fiscal year like looks more balanced, in terms of sales.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that they would like to release it over the holidays. I think that's why they said that they're shooting for a holiday release,
Hmm.
or they're on track for one, anyways. But I do think like the fact that like the PS5 version is clearly the version they're showcasing here. That's the version they want people to view the game as. Most people don't have a PS5.
Right.
And like, it's not like I can go buy one right now.
Yeah.
I could, but on eBay, they're like $1,000. So from what we've seen, the shortage is still going to be an issue. Sony was like, no, this is going to get worse because now they're having problems even finding the chipset that goes into the console itself. And
Yeah.
so Sony has literally said that they're making a new PS5. Like they're coming up with new hardware and they're just going to make a new console that's going to do the same. It's going to be very similar to the original, but it's going to have different parts because they can't find these parts right now. And they're like, we have a console and we can't sell it. These games are coming out and they're like, so
They really
Sony's,
need to they
yeah,
really need to have a solution for these bots and scalpers too. Like in mind when this, we'll call it like PS5
version 2.
version B or whatever, yeah, is like ready to go. They need to have some sort of system where they can identify maybe through your like PlayStation Network account and send you like a code
Hmm.
and be like, "Hey, this is your code to like go on the store, enter this code, it'll put a PS5 in your cart, and you have like 2 days to check out. Otherwise, it's gone."
Yeah.
Like that's your opportunity, so that it's not just like find some way to contact people and put the PS5 directly in their cart, because people on a website like just trying to click and like refresh
Yeah.
and
I'm
beat
not.
these bots, like you can't do it. So
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I know people that follow the Twitter feeds constantly and they'll like tweet out when one like appears at Best Buy and they'll drop everything and go to the cart and like they're frantically trying to get there first. Dude, I'm not doing that. I'm not.
yeah,
I'm just not. I'm gonna
yeah.
buy it like a normal person, and that's it. You
And
know?
until then,
Yeah. I mean, I did sign up for alerts at Walmart, and so if when I get a notification that I got an email and I looked at it sometimes and it'll be like, oh, the PS5 is in stock. But by the time I get that notification, then go to Walmart.com, type in PS5, it's
oh
sold
god,
out. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's just like that's because people are like literally like following the rumors and somebody leaked that it was going to be available. And so people are already waiting. So by the time
sure,
that email goes out, like it's already sold out.
yeah. Unless you have your uncle works at Target and knows a guy in the electronics department, right? Who has like the shipping
Right.
information. You're
Yeah.
not you're
Yeah.
not getting one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if this game does come out over the holidays, I will be more inclined to buy a PS5 off eBay, not for
Mm,
$1,000,
mm.
but for a while, when probably after E3, maybe September timeframe, I bet you the prices will start to dip a little bit on eBay. And, if it gets down to like the 700s again for the disc, I might be more inclined to just pull the trigger and buy that because I do want one. And there are some games like I want to play the 7 remake again on the PS5. I want to play Horizon. I want to play Ratchet and Clank. I know there's going to be a 60 FPS patch for Ghost of Tsushima that I want
Mm.
to play. And so, I mean, there are things that I want to play. It's just there's the Witcher 3 remaster is going to be coming out, free remaster. And so they'll get me eventually, but I strongly prefer not to spend that much money on a console. But
Yeah.
I will fork it over because I really want to play this game, and so we'll see. Um. Anyways, okay. So anything else with Horizon Forbidden West? I think we covered everything in pretty good details. Or anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
It looks great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We're looking forward to it.
Hmm.
We're looking forward to it. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And also, check out our audio version. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and practically any podcatcher you can think of. Also, we have a fantastic media partner at RPGFan.com. Be sure to go check them out for your latest RPG reviews and news, as well as some other kick-ass podcasts with Rhythm Encounter, Retro Encounter, and Random Encounter. Go check them out. We'll see you next time.